welcome to the Writing Corner. My name is LD Valencia. Today we're talking about book events and what to do and what not to do. So today let's talk a little bit about your space, right? So hopefully you are bringing items and bringing things to your book event to really make your table, your tent, your booth, whatever it is, look really nice, right? You're going to want to think about some things that will draw people in, that will entice them to come to your table, because sometimes it's not always apparent that the book that you're selling is for them, right? So sometimes you can make a sale, you can connect with the reader, you can, make a new connection just by having that conversation with someone. But sometimes you have to get them to come over to your table, right? So what are some things you can do to maybe like draw them in, make them think about coming over to the table and hopefully stopping by, right? Now, you can do something to maybe gamify your table, make it more enticing, make it more friendly and welcoming, right? I've seen people do things like have a spinning wheel at their table where they can win a prize, right? I've done that before with, varying degrees of success. I've also had free stickers. I do this all the time at my events where I'll just have a box with some stickers on it and I'll ask people like, hey, would you like a bookish sticker, right? I've had everything from like superheroes because I sell superhero series. I also have like bookish ones because it's obviously books, right? But also I have some like dragon ones and other ones for my new book, The Undying Dragon. So whenever you're doing an event, figure out some ways to kind of like within like what fits with your genre, the type of book you're selling, things like that. What's going to work well to make it friendly, make it inviting, but also like make it exciting for a reader to come up to your table and ask you questions, right? Some people will just go up to you naturally, but there are some people that are like kind of testing the waters. They're like looking around. So offering something that might gamify things or make it a freebie, right? Like some free stickers is a great way to make it inviting, make it exciting, and make people want to stop by and say hello and get a freebie, right? Because that's what a lot of people want. Now, the second thing I'm going to bring up is something that a lot of people might not think about, especially if you're very new to doing book events. For this one, I really want you to think about and probably do a little bit of research. Ideally, there's going to be an event organizer that you can email and ask for this, but find out what are some of the SOPs, the standard operating procedures. What are the do's and don'ts, right? A lot of times they will email you this when you sign up. Sometimes you have to ask for it. But figure out like what are the things I am expected to do, what are the things I will get in trouble if I don't do, or will be in trouble if I do this, right? So figure out what those things are. Look over the document, read it over. Sometimes at events they are going to ask you to maybe donate a book. There might be like a door prize for people. I've gone to events and they're like holiday ones, and you have to like donate an item. It might be a book or a sticker, a bookmark, whatever it might be. So make sure, see if that's a thing. There are certain things about like arriving, where you're supposed to go, where you're not supposed to go, right? Like they might have a specific section that they want everyone to load their cars from or to unload and enter through, right? Like if it's an event space that's attached to a hotel, they might not want you walking through the front lobby when the event space is in the back, right? So figure out those things, ask about them. Ideally, like I said, there's going to be an event organizer you can email and ask about. There might not be, and it might be up to you to go find the event space and like on their website look at those things. So figure out what those things are and make sure you're doing those things. It would be really harsh and kind of a bummer if you went to the event, didn't realize you were doing something or didn't do something you were supposed to, and then weren't invited back next year, especially if it's a good event, right? If you go and you're like, oh man, this is a good event, and then you're not invited next year because of this thing. There was one time I went to an event and it had in there, like, if you leave early, you're subject to be, like, uninvited, right? So they said in there, like, don't leave early. So even if it's dead at 5 and the event goes till 7, right, they don't want people leaving. That can make you subject to, like, not be invited again. So checking those things, look up the SOP or figure out what are the do's and don'ts, and hopefully there's going to be someone to ask about that they can just email it to you. But if not, might have to do a little bit of homework and figure out what are the do's and don'ts of this event, okay? Thanks so much for joining. If you've ever gone to an event, what is something crazy that's happened to you? I'd love to hear about it in the comments. If you are an author, what are some events that you've loved going to? And I'd love to hear about some of those in below because I'm trying to, really fine-tune what events I go to and which ones I maybe don't go to next year. So what are some of your favorites? Let me hear about them in the comments. Thanks so much, guys.